So I just watched The Batman yesterday, and to say that I've been thinking about this movie ever since I walked out of the movie theater is putting it really lightly. I have a lot of thoughts on this movie, and I was like, I gotta make a video on it. This is one of those movies that I cannot pass up making a video on. So this is going to be my Batman 2022 review. First half is going to be spoiler free, second half is going to be spoilers. So when you hear me start talking spoilers, or when I say spoilers, you know what to do. But I guess I should start off by saying the Batman as like a character is one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. Maybe one of my favorite characters of all time. I have a lot of appreciation for the Dark Knight trilogy. I love the Tim Burton movies. I even have somewhat of an affection for the Joel Schumacher films, which, ooh, yeah. And I actually like Ben Affleck's Batman. So, going into this movie, I kind of had high expectations, especially knowing the director Matt Reeves in his previous movies. Like, I don't ever think that guy has directed a single bad movie. Like Planet of the Apes, and his other films are just freaking fantastic. So when I heard he was attached to this movie, I was definitely very excited. And, Robert Pattinson as Batman, say what you want. And I mean, people have said so much about Robert Pattinson. The guy can act. He's a really good actor. And when I found out that he was going to be Batman, I was like, hell yeah, that's different. That's not who I would have thought they would have casted as Batman, but I like it. And the more I heard about this movie, that it was going to be like a detective movie with Batman, that it was going to be really like gritty and all these things that Batman should be, I just kept getting more and more excited. And I was counting the days for when this movie was going to be released. Finally, it gets released. I go watch it yesterday, and guys, I absolutely loved this movie. like, I absolutely was ecstatic when I walked out of the movie theater. I could not believe that they finally made a Batman movie that I was waiting for. Now, is it a perfect movie? No. Obviously, no movie is perfect, right? There's going to be issues with every single movie. But for what I was expecting, they really did deliver. Now, that being said, I could see why somebody would not like this movie, right? I think nowadays we're accustomed to so much action in our superhero movies and over the top scenes, which is fine. I love Avengers Endgame. I love Infinity War. I love Marvel and everything they're doing. This isn't that. This definitely is more in line with what the Dark Knight trilogy was, in the sense that it's grounded, right? So if you're going into it with the wrong expectations, I feel like you might walk out of this movie not liking it too much. But regardless, this movie was fantastic. And I think if you are at all a Batman fan, you need to go watch this movie and experience it. Robert Pattinson as Batman, awesome. I loved him as Batman. He is such a different take from what we are used to, and this guy, he just really portrays someone that is pained. He's like a super damaged Batman, and it's very apparent. And I love that. I love the way that they're able to show that this guy's just not at his highest point right now. And I honestly thought Robert Pattinson gave an excellent performance as Batman. He's basically Batman 90% of the movie, to be honest. And I know I'm not the first one to say that, but it is true. And some people might take issue with that. I don't. I'll explain more in the spoilers. But yeah, for what he brought to the table, I thought he was amazing, and I absolutely loved him. Catwoman, played by Zoe Kravitz, I think that's how you say her name. Awesome as well. Do I think she's the best Catwoman ever? I don't know. I would have to say that's a pretty tight competition between her and I think it was Michelle Pfeiffer. I might be wrong on that. I might be getting that confused. But she was a very good Catwoman. Penguin, I thought was awesome. Like, I could not tell that was Colin Farrell. And again, I know I'm not the first one to say this, but it's very true. When you watch him, that guy gets lost in that role. Um, Freaking James Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, awesome. I thought he was really good as that character. I think he brought a gravitas to that role. His voice kind of matched Batman's voice throughout the whole movie, and I thought that was hilarious. It was like, yeah, we're both here on the crime scene. We're gonna talk like this the entire. I just thought it was funny. I was like, Jake Gordon, there's no need for you to talk that way. Uh, and the Riddler. Honestly, this is a Riddler that I thought was very intimidating and sometimes was downright scary. A lot of inspiration from Seven, Zodiac, and I was really digging that. Some people might say that he was a little bit too over the top, which I could see, but for me it worked. I thought if there was going to be a grounded Riddler in the real world, this is probably what he would be like, right? He probably wouldn't be all there, and his performance was, I don't know, it was very captivating. When this guy was on screen, you kind of just wanted to see more of him. And yeah, I don't know. His performance was great. Now, moving on to like the freaking soundtrack. I don't know, guys. This soundtrack is awesome. It is like instantly iconic, and it's really hard to do that with scores. And for some reason, I feel like nowadays we don't have a lot of, I guess, superhero films that have a really good iconic score or theme. The last one I can really think of is maybe Wonder Woman, uh maybe Superman with Man of Steel. I don't know. Last really good ones were, in my opinion at least, you might disagree, was like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Like, you always had those themes that played. But this movie, it had such an awesome soundtrack, and every time that Batman theme hits, you freaking feel it. You feel how much that theme fits the character. It's big, it's brooding, it's like oh shit, this is really coming at us right now, isn't it? But I thought they did an excellent job with the soundtrack and how they fit it into the movie. Now, again, like I said, this is, if you're gonna watch the Batman, if you're a Batman fan at all, you probably already saw this movie. You're probably gonna go see it regardless of what I say. So I'm gonna kind of end my spoiler-free review here. Go watch it if you have not watched it. I would definitely give this movie a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. I kind of go back and forth. I want to say 9 because I do have some small issues with it that I will bring up in the spoiler section. Well, actually, I think I could bring it up now. The movie is almost 3 hours long. I do feel that there were certain scenes that could have been shortened up a little bit. Specifically, one scene that I'm not going to get into, but it did feel like it was just a tad bit too long. But in general, I was completely enthralled in the movie, and I was never thinking like, oh man, this is dragging. This is going, oh, like looking at my watch, which is a good thing. But it did feel a slight bit too long when I walked out of the movie theater, and I was like, oh yeah, they probably could have cut that a little shorter. But anyways, 9 out of 10. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is one of the best movies. It's really one of the best superhero movies to come out in the last couple years. And there have been a lot of really good superhero movies like Spider-Man Homecoming, Endgame, Infinity War. Like, go watch it. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go into spoilers. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about straight off the bat is Batman, played by Robert Pattinson. And there's this like dialogue going around the internet right now that this Batman is a little too brooding, that he's too like dark and emo, and that he doesn't have that Bruce Wayne persona that we're all used to, right? Like, if you look back at the Dark Knight trilogy, there's a distinct difference between Batman and Bruce Wayne, right? When Bruce Wayne is out and about, he definitely acts like an eccentric billionaire or millionaire. And when he's Batman, he's all serious. He's Batman. With Robert Pattinson's Batman, he's always Batman. Like, he never takes that persona off. And a lot of people have this criticism of like, oh, well, he kind of just feels dark and brooding the entire movie. Like there's no difference. Like where's that dynamic of him changing between Bruce Wayne and Batman? And I understand that. But in my opinion, if you've seen the movie, you know that this is probably the most broken Batman we have ever gotten in any Batman movie. He's depressed. He feels a lot of pain inside of him. And this movie in particular feels like it's one of the most grounded superhero movies ever made. At least if like it's almost as if this movie would take place in the real world. I think even more so than the Dark Knight trilogy. In the real world, Batman would be like this. A person that would go through the effort of dressing up as Batman, that would go through the effort of going off and fighting crime and doing all these things. I don't think that they would necessarily care too much about what persona they put out when they're Bruce Wayne, right? Like, this is a Batman that's damaged. This is a Batman that is really broken. And it's in all aspects of his life. He's broken as Batman. He's broken as Bruce Wayne. And there's a particular scene where I forget what it was exactly, but it's after I think the mayor got murdered. It's that scene that has been shown on YouTube where the car drives through and the guy like has a bomb on his neck yeah. And in that scene, it's kind of like you see Bruce Wayne and it's almost like he doesn't know how to talk to people anymore. Like he just doesn't know how to interact with people. He's lost that side of himself that ever felt that he could be sociable. And I actually really think that's an interesting take on Batman, because if we actually had someone like this is probably what they would be. They probably wouldn't be this eccentric billionaire. They would be someone that would probably be recluse and kind of to themselves, right? And you can just see how pained this Batman is in the scenes where he has to interact with people when he's not Batman. And yeah, maybe it is like, I guess, one note that it happens that's basically him throughout the entire movie, but that's who he is. That's what it would be. And I think that they actually did a lot of interesting things with Batman and showing how damaged he really is. For instance, there's a scene where we think Alfred died because of an explosion. And he goes to the hospital to visit Alfred. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of two scenes that almost made me cry in this movie. I'll explain the other scene later on. But he goes to Alfred, he's talking to him, and there comes a scene where he's just sitting there and he's talking to Alfred and he says, I came to learn, or I thought I learned to like conquer my fear, to conquer my fear, to not let it get the best of me. And then he says, today I learned that that's not true. I felt fear that I never thought I'd feel again. And he says, what I actually fear is ever going through something like that again. And what he's referring to is the loss of his parents and feeling loss again. And the fact that he almost lost Alfred made him feel that fear. And you could say that's been said in other Batman movies. You can say that maybe it's even been done better. But to hear him say that and to hear how freaking like, what's the word? What am I looking for? To feel how much this could have hurt him. It really humanizes him a lot in that moment. And it's something that really got to me because I can relate to that. Like, one of my biggest fears in life is to lose somebody that I love to death, And the fact that this guy's out here literally saying it, like, I don't want to go through that again, was really powerful in my opinion. And it really shows as to, like, what this character feels. But yeah, that's my little tangent on why I really like this Batman. And it's not an issue for me that he is a brooding Batman, that he is a sad, depressed Batman. I love it. It's a different take. It's going to be a different take. We don't always want the same freaking story with Batman and Bruce Wayne, do we? We don't want another repeat of the Dark Knight. Like, this is different. We got to do something different. That aside, I'm not trying to like pick apart anybody else's argument. This is just my opinion. But anyways, besides that, the whole film in general has a way darker tone to it. And something I really loved about this movie is they made you see why this Batman is feared. At the beginning of the movie, there's kind of like a montage of criminals doing like criminal stuff, like breaking the law, and they see the bat signal up in the sky, and they instantly are all like, "Oh, crap! Like maybe we shouldn't be doing this." And they're looking into the darkness, like, "Damn, Batman could be there. Batman might be watching us. He might really mess us up right now." And it shows you like Batman has put the fear of God into these criminals. Like they think that he might be around every corner. And I don't know. I just really love that. There was a scene. I thought that was really cool. And another thing I really loved is this is gonna sound weird. The makeup under the eyes when he takes off his mask and it's still there. Like that's a small detail that wasn't really there in other Batman movies, but I appreciate that it's there. It really grounds this character a lot more. The fact that we see that he goes through the effort of blacking out his eyes, and I don't know. This Batman, like I said, is the most realistic Batman I think we've had, and especially with all the gear that he has. Like his motorcycle is basically a motorcycle with two little points that look like little bat ears. That's just the most basic Batmobile I think we've ever gotten because it's just a motorcycle, but it works. Like it really works, especially with his car. It's just a freaking supercharged muscle car that has a freaking jet engine in the back. Well, that's awesome. That's something we haven't gotten before, and that's what I really love about this movie. It takes Batman and just interprets it in such a different way. Another thing I really liked was one of his gadgets is he has the little wingsuit, the squirrel suit that people actually fly with, and it's like if Batman were to try to fly, he'd probably do that. Like that's a very smart way to still give Batman this ability he's always had, but ground it in reality, right? I don't know. I just thought all of that was such a cool detail. It's so awesome. But regardless, throughout the movie, Batman is basically being a like actual detective and trying to figure out these riddles and clues that Riddler is leaving behind. And some of those scenes are really intense, especially for like a PG-13 movie. Like the scene with the freaking, I think there were rats inside the cage where they're gonna go like eat the guy's face. The way that whole scene was shot was very unsettling. In fact, the Riddler in this movie was very unsettling. Like he definitely came. Sorry, that was a phone call. He definitely came off as a psychopath, someone that you probably don't want to mess with. Sorry, let me put my phone on silent real quick. And it really showed. It really showed that you don't want to mess with this guy. The way he like records his victims, the way that it just comes off like as a really creepy video, especially when you're watching it, that all worked for me. And that was awesome. Now, when I was talking earlier, I said that people might think that this guy's too over the top. And he does kind of get there towards the end, but this guy's a lunatic. He's been killing people. He's a serial killer. He's been messing with Batman this entire movie. How do you really expect him to be like this normal dude that's like, oh yes, Batman, you figured out all my clues, we're working together? No, obviously this is the direction that this guy was always going to go in, you know. But yeah, I loved him. He was amazing. The dynamic between Batman and Catwoman, I was actually digging, you know. I did think Catwoman was, her storyline could have been a little bit more, I guess, involved, but what we got from it, I thoroughly enjoyed. Her dynamic with Batman was awesome. I thought they actually did have chemistry, and all their scenes were really good together. I liked the scene where she's putting in the contact, and Batman's like, "Hey, look at me," and he like holds her, and she's just like gazing into his eyes, and he's like, "Yeah, contact looks good. They won't notice." Like it was hilarious, and that's something about this movie too. A lot of people say it's such a dark, brooding film, which it is, but it does have its moments of comedy relief, and they're not necessarily jokes, just more like little comedic bits thrown in there. The one that I really like is when him and Gordon are in the freaking jail cell. And then Gordon's like, okay, you're going to punch me. You're going to take this key and you're going to get out of here. And he's like, all right. And then they're talking for a little longer. And then out of nowhere, just BAM! Batman punches him. He goes away. And, yeah, he goes away. And they meet up later. And Gordon's just like, dude, you could have pulled that punch a little bit. Well, I did. So that worked as well. Now, something I really want to touch on is, Batman ends up finding out Riddler's plan. There ends up being like a cave-in or not cave-in. The water starts flooding Gotham. And there's these shooters that want to kill the mayor, if I remember right, and they're on top of the thing. Batman goes and like saves them. One thing I really liked about this movie is that at the beginning, Batman's very much like, I'm vengeance. Like, I'm the pain that I felt. Like, I want revenge. At the end of the movie, when he's taking these guys out, one of them looks, I think, at Batman or somebody, and they could just go, I'm vengeance. And at that point, I think Batman realizes, like, man, I'm no different from these guys. Like, if I just want vengeance, what am I really fighting for? Am I actually fighting for something good? Like, what am I doing to the city? And Batman, I think at this point, an electric wire starts going down, and it's like threatening to electrocute everyone that's on the floor in the water. And Batman basically grabs onto it, cuts it off, he electrocutes himself, he falls in the water. And I really feel like at this moment, that's when this Batman changes and becomes something more than what he has been. He gets up out of the water and he sees that there's people stuck underneath this like structure that collapsed, and he goes over there. And this moment was very touching for me. He kind of like frees them, and he reaches his hand out and he helps them out, and he specifically helps out the kid that lost his dad at the beginning of the movie, which that's also a really good scene where he's just looking at the kid, and the kid's like crying, and you could tell that he's remembering what it felt like to be in that position, losing a parent. And this Batman movie might not have an origin story for Batman, but they honestly do such a good job of like alluding to that, and that you don't even need an origin story. You don't need to see his parents get shot for like the 10th time. But he helps this kid out, and then he helps more people out. And he has the flare the entire time, and he guides them through the water. And that's such a great shot of Batman just leading them. And it goes on, I think, either to like the next day, and he's helping more people out, and he has this speech, which this is the other scene that almost made me cry. He has this kind of speech of like, I have had an impact on this city, and it might not be the one that I thought I did. And he's basically saying like, it's not that like, I forget verbatim what he said, but he basically says like, I'm able to give these people hope. And there's this girl that he's like putting on this helicopter thing to get lifted up, and she's holding on to him, and she doesn't want to let go. And he realizes that he can be more to these people than just somebody that fights bad guys. He can be hope for them. And he basically says like, my scars don't have to be like a negative thing. I can use the damage that I have for positivity and do something good. And some people might say that's basic, like, but the way it was done and the way it was shown, it was so touching. Like, it really got to me. And, I think it was really nice to see this Batman save people, for him to reach his hand out and just guide people through the darkness with this little flare. It was awesome. And I really enjoyed seeing that. It's like, throughout this entire movie, you're seeing Batman be a detective. You're seeing him go after the Riddler. You're seeing him fight bad guys. And in that moment, you remember, oh, wow, he is a superhero. He's a hero. Like, he doesn't just do that stuff. He fights crime, but he also saves people. He gives people hope. That's what a superhero does. And at that moment, he achieves that. And Like I keep saying, that was just so awesome. And this movie had so many moments that I just freaking enjoyed and loved. Like so many small moments that might seem insignificant, but when you really think about it, they mean a lot. I don't know. This movie is cool. I loved it. I think really that's all I have to say right now. I don't want to get lost and go on more tangents. If you haven't seen this movie, please go out and see this movie. Like, this might be one of my favorite movies that come out in the last like 10 years. Like, seriously. And it's really, really competing with The Dark Knight for me as in terms of my favorite Batman movie. I don't know. Wait, one more thing. So, the Riddler gets caught at the end. Well, he got caught a little bit before the end, but he's in a jail cell and he realizes that Batman has foiled his plan. And somebody in the cell next to him starts talking. You're kind of wondering, like, who is this? Like, who's talking to him? And then he says something about, like, they love a clown or something about a clown. And you're like, wait, clown? Joker? And then he asks Riddler a riddle. He answers that riddle. And the dude just starts laughing. And then they start laughing together. So what I think they're trying to imply there is that that's the Joker. And that we may see the Joker pop up in the next Batman movie. Now, my thoughts on that is we've had a lot of Joker, right? We've had Heath Ledger. We've had Jared Leto's. We've had Joaquin Phoenix with his own movie. When I saw that post-credit scene, I enjoyed it. But in my mind, I'm like, really? Another Joker? That being said, I will always be excited for another interpretation of the Joker. I think that he is Batman's greatest nemesis, and really you can't have Batman without Joker, at least at some point, right? And I think that maybe a second movie would be a good place for him. I mean, hell, it worked for Heath Ledger. So I guess we'll see where that goes. I am excited to see. But that was something that I was kind of conflicted on when I first saw. And I don't know what they're going for. I think maybe they're going for the storyline where he cut off his own face. Because when you kind of see his side profile, he looks kind of fucked up. Like, at first I thought it was Two-Face, but the hints they give through the dialogue makes it seem like it's Joker. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see. They have announced that they're going to make 2 more Batman movies and a TV show, I think. So I guess we'll see where that goes. But yeah. Anyways, guys, these have been my thoughts on The Batman 2022. Absolutely loved it. Loved Robert Pattinson as Batman. I know this wasn't the most coherent review or even spoiler talk, but I just had some things I wanted to say and I said them. So anyways, guys, I'm sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. Thank you to those who subscribed from my previous videos. It means a lot. I will be trying to upload more, especially with all these movies coming out. I'm also going to try to talk a little bit more about like TV shows or just stuff that I'm watching. Kind of want to talk about anime, so let me know if you guys are interested in seeing any of that. So, but anyways, guys, this has been Ryan Malik. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Please let me know what you guys thought of the Batman down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let it all be known down there. I will see you guys next time, and yeah, peace out, guys.